Hello, I'm Vanessa, and I was fortunate to participate in the 2020 session of SBSM, and I'm now an alumni, and I can't wait for the next session to start. In 2017, I started to have a lot of health issues come up and start to build. And I'm very determined and very driven. And so my body kept trying to tell me things were wrong. I know I can see it now, but hindsight's 2020, right?
Right.
And so it built. At the time, my relationships were not working the way that I needed them to. My employment, my job, I wasn't getting the satisfaction that I needed out of it. There were so many different things. Mm-hmm. And then I do have existing chronic conditions previous, and I have had a lifelong of that. But on June 1st, 2017, my body came to a screeching halt and said, no more.
It said no.
Said no more. I couldn't move. I had so much pain and migraines that just kept coming and coming.
Yeah.
And 6 days later, was in hospital. Wow. And then it started a journey of trying to heal and try to figure out what the heck is going on. Mm-hmm. My body wasn't showing. It wasn't expressing on the labs what it was doing inside.
Okay.
And as with other invisible illnesses, such as trauma can be invisible illness, nobody's seeing it. I'm just feeling it. Mm-hmm. So I through the practice, I ended up having some jaw surgery and was with a practitioner who knows a lot about the autonomic nervous system and continued to tell me that until I calmed, regulated my nervous system, I would always not be able to achieve my health goals.
Got it.
And as an aside to that, take us back way back to 2006, 2007, I was on the board for the White Rock Hospice Society. Okay. And at our AGM, Gabor Mate came to be our guest speaker.
Got it.
And so immediately I got out, bought his book, The Body Says No, read it, was so floored by it. It just spoke to me.
Such a great book.
Such a great book.
Yeah.
But it didn't tell me how. And that was my missing link. So then I had that back years. And
so that was 2007-ish?
Yes.
Okay. So 10 years before you ended up in the hospital with these, even though you knew stuff was happening. Got it.
Yes.
So keep going with that thought.
So I saw him speak, so powerful, read his book. I gave his book to my mom. Mm-hmm. She read his book, but we both, it's like we got it on a level, but there was a level we were just blind to. Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of, the universe has a really interesting way of knocking on your door. Yeah. And if you don't listen, it's going to find a window, it's going to find a crack, and things will crumble. That's what I've learned from my experience.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, actually. I really love that visual. And I'm curious, when you mentioned you knew something was wrong, like before you ended up in the hospital, in addition to, say, the pain, was there something else that was going on, just for those listening who might be like, oh, well, this couldn't have been that, right? Like, what were some of the other things that you were experiencing prior to the SmartBody SmartMind work?
Other issues I was experiencing with, and some of the hardest to talk about, I'll start with, is cognitive decline.
Okay.
So you see me now, you see me interacting.
Yeah.
But in the evenings and often during pain spikes and when I've had a bad pain day, my brain doesn't work. I'm an intelligent woman. I say I used to be smart, and I know I am smart.
You are, I can tell, yeah.
But through this journey, it has I lose my thoughts. I had to stop working. I was forgetting meetings.
Uh-huh.
The brain fog, recently I heard that a 4-year-old should remember up to 3 different cues or 3 different items, instructions without being cued.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't something I was able to do.
Got it.
And neurologically, dropping things, my coordination, pain that I couldn't discern. People would ask me to explain my pain, and I didn't understand, except for that everything felt like it was screaming at me. I came because I'm on a health journey, a healing journey, and I understood I needed something of the nervous system. So I Googled, and I found some different resources, and I found you. And you offered 3 videos on healing trauma for free.
Yeah.
I watched them, and I was just like, yes, okay, this is the work I need to do. This is the work. It was just so powerful, and yet simple, but so impactful.
Yeah.
I actually saw your program in the late 2018, and I thought maybe I would start in 2019.
Yeah.
But I couldn't afford it at that time.
Sure.
So what I did is I put money away each month, but still connected to you through all of your other resources while I built up, because I'm on disability.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I built that up. If you go see a counselor, a body therapist, it's $200 off the pop.
An hour usually. Yes. Yeah.
So for 1 hour, that's 10 sessions. But this work is so expansive. It's expansive beyond 10 sessions. It is, and it's a totally different format, and the outcomes are completely different.
So tell me about the outcomes. So you came into you came into the 3-part healing trauma series. It sounds like not just this past year, but a couple of years ago. And then you got into SBSM. I'm dating this. We're talking in the year 2020, December.
The things I learned, how to go at my own pace. And it's simple. It seems easy. It seems like something that you would learn when you were young. And I didn't. And I have had a very successful career. I have done lots of really great things, but here I am. And it's changed me in the sense that although it's a long journey and I still have a long ways to go, I'm more in touch with how I feel. And the key for this in my health journey is that not only am I able to articulate better to the practitioners what's happening or what I'm feeling, I can actually feel it in my viscera, and I'm
bodied,
touching myself. I can feel it, and I can name it.
That's just, I know when you said that, it's like this empowerment just sparked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I didn't learn that.
Right. When you were little, it didn't happen.
And so I'm learning now. And, part of me at first was a little,
yeah.
And it's humbling. It's very humbling. So the feelings, and what's also interesting is that most recently I've had an MRI and a CT scan, and they have new findings that are anatomical that have existed and just hadn't been found. But my body didn't show it on the previous scans, but now it's showing.
Right.
And I don't know if that's scientifically proven, that you could scientifically prove that, but for me, I'm starting to go, oh, wow, this is coming together.
Got it.
Previously, I couldn't tell what I was feeling until it ramped me up so much that I just didn't know what to hear, listen, move, cry, just complete freeze.
Yeah.
Complete freeze.
Yeah.
Actually, I combined them all. I had a little soup.
Well, yeah, it's that, as you've learned, it's just that intense dysregulation. Yeah.
And intense.
Yes.
I learned that how intense. I knew I had some trauma. I knew I had early and developmental trauma, but I didn't put together that the other traumas through illnesses in childhood and adolescence and adulthood, and through, bullying or, losing people in my life, having personal struggles, that sort of thing. It's all sort of come out. I came out of victimhood in the last 9 months. I'm so proud of that.
That's cool.
And this program helped me, not by telling me to do so, but by the work that I did with the great tools you provided.
That's a powerful statement.
It feels powerful.
Yes. Gosh, I'm just sort of basking in that. I don't know if anyone has ever quite said it quite like that, Vanessa, that you've come out of victimhood through this work.
It's kind of hard to admit.
But it's so it's like powerful, because now you've crossed over to that other side.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So what's that like to now live, even though and I know that you're still working with a lot of your system with pain and health problems, which I'd love to hear a little bit about, because we want to be real with people. But what's it like now to face and be with those things on the other side of now being the victor as opposed to the victim? I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
I feel less guilt. I felt this deep shame before, shame about being ill. And actually, I've interacted with people, but some of the people I used to work with are people I know that haven't seen me, don't know. And so it's powerful because I'm learning to trust myself. And that, I think, ties in with all of this, is that if you can learn to trust yourself, you don't need all of the other stuff external. You need some of it, but
Yeah.
but and so it's bringing it in and less looking out, more being able to look in. And when I had some negative experiences, and I've had a lot with the medical profession, and you know what? In every profession, there's highs and lows, right?
Yeah.
But just some of the things, and I went on the road of believing them. And then that made me feel more like a victim. And that was just bringing me down.
Yeah.
And we can have things that are happening to us, and it's cliche to say we have control over how we respond to them, but there's work that needs to be done to be able to do that. And the work in SBSM is the core, I think, to be able to foundationally learn the things that we didn't learn. Another outcome, which is less on the, it's more of an intense outcome, is anger. And so with these feelings that I never really felt, I always was happy. I found fear and anger.
Anger. Yeah.
Oh,
I can feel that energy in you. Good on ya.
Scary.
Yeah.
I didn't before. I thought if you were angry, you were an angry person. But you can have anger and not be that person.
100%. And I have a thought. So
please.
But You have a partner, you have a
Yes.
husband.
Yes.
How was it for him as you started to come out of the cocoon? Because a lot of partners obviously are with their spouses or significant others or even, family members.
Yes.
And sometimes when these emotions start to come up, it can be a little like, whoa, who's this person that I'm now living with? How was that with you and him as you went through this process this year?
I laugh. It was scary and upsetting for him at first too, because I usually am pretty even-tempered, or at least that's how I was living in survival stress.
Yeah.
And that energy to keep even-tempered I just don't have the energy anymore. I didn't have it. At the beginning of SBSM, you shared with us a document, a few pages actually, that we could share with loved ones.
Yes.
That were involved with us. And I shared that with him, and he read through all of the information and started watching the biology of stress videos.
Oh, great.
So I give great thanks to him because he got involved, which is wonderful to help me. Yes, very. Couldn't have done the amount of work I've done without him. But it also was hard on our relationship, and still is, because he married me, almost 15 years ago, and I was just nice all the time until I blew up eventually. And now I'm having emotions here, there, and everywhere. But I'm able to come back down now. So one of the graphs you give, which is so great about the nervous system, how it's supposed to go up and then come back down. Mine was stuck.
Yes. You mentioned that you had a lot of early and developmental trauma. Do you know what occurred when you were young? Was it a mystery, or did you just know there was something off? Curious to ask about that.
Yeah. When my mom had a difficult pregnancy with me. And what happened is she went into labor, what was breech. And at that time they gave her something to stop the labor. And my mom I had flipped by that time, but she became septic.
Right.
And she was losing placenta through her urine. They were seeing it. So it was a very traumatic birth. Whisked away to ICU. They put an IV in my head. I'm not sure when anybody was ever able to hold me, like how long it was.
Yeah.
I know my grandmother was the first person to hold me, but I don't know when.
Right.
And then after, my mom had a lot of postpartum depression.
Of course, yeah.
And so I went to go live with another family member. And so I did not get that attunement.
That bond.
That bonding.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stress. There was upbringing. My parents divorced pretty much when I was born, or separated rather, right away, and never reconciled. And so there were things. And then when I was younger, I do have some other trauma, but I'm not comfortable to talk about that.
Yeah.
But bullying in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And then even in high school, that had a big effect. And I did have a lot of childhood illnesses. And for me now, I'm seeing it's all connected. I can see it.
Yes.
Wish they have had that empowerment or that information at that time, because the signs were there. I was able to go to university. I have a degree in biology. I did a year of my registered nurse, but switched programs, and did a career, had almost a 20-year career in seniors housing before this. If my mom had had a regulated nervous system, if she had have had tools. There's just so many things. And that was a different era where there just was a lack of a lot of information.
Yeah.
Hence her smoking with the, she told me she went to go see the obstetrician and she's having to smoke, he's having to smoke.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's just how it was.
It's incredible, isn't it? But I think that things have changed a lot since then. So it's this hope that in another 40 years, there'll be that much more change. It's like fingers crossed.
Yes.
I want to ask, we've talked about, obviously, you getting into the work, all the good things, even though it's been hard. Was there something that was like really challenging in the actual course proper? Because as you know, it's not something that you just end when the course is done. You keep learning it and going back to the materials. But was there something that you really, it was like bittersweet?
One of my biggest challenges was figuring out which calls I should spend time on, because I only have a certain amount of time that my mental faculties work right now. Mm-hmm. It's getting better. I keep doing the work. It keeps getting better. But that I didn't know where to spend my time and where to focus. So that would be something I struggled with. Mm-hmm. I struggled with wanting to keep up. Yeah. And after about lab 5, I started to be overly excited, and I had gone too far. I had done too much in my quest from my overcoming perfectionism to I don't know, we should do a count of how many times you repeat both titration and go at your own pace. And the more I heard you say that, the more it felt okay to do it. Yeah. And I did eventually, but I went through this like push-pull of, am I missing out? If I don't, am I missing out? And anyway, there's so much, I guess that's it. There's so much that it can be a bit overwhelming. It was for me just to navigate what should I prioritize?
Definitely. And I think that, yes, I probably said go at your own pace every call at least 5 times, if not a dozen times. And there's a reason for that constant repetition. But what I love about what you shared is that you experienced that needing to keep up, not wanting to miss out. What is it? FOMO that we call it.
Yes.
But then there comes a breaking point where I think the system goes, wait a minute. I think maybe she's onto something here. Maybe I'll listen. And that's where I think a little break happens in a good way. And it seems to be a common theme with a lot of your peers that I talk to.
Okay.
Right? They go, oh yeah, finally I listened a year after that, but now I'm here still. And so it's great because I think it tests how we've learned how to learn from our school days where, if you didn't get that done, you failed the test.
Yes.
Right? And it's very different.
Yes. And it's very personal and unique.
Yeah.
And I think that each participant, and you would know far better than I, but it just feels like even though you've created this program and everyone has the same program, it's brilliant that each person is working on their own through their own stuff. And you don't have, I guess I should have put this at the beginning, but you don't have to talk about it.
No.
The specifics.
No.
And you heal with, you do your own work and for me, I have my husband that I share with, and, it could be a friend, it could be, I think that would be a good help to have a friend or somebody who you can bounce some things off of.
Yeah, no, you're correct. Yeah, no, there's no need to talk about the specific traumas necessarily. It can come up, and it does come up, and then that's fine. But we're not, as you've known, we don't have a list where we say, okay, tell us every single thing that's ever happened to you, because that was the past.
Yes.
Right. And that beautifully goes into what you said about coming out of victimhood earlier.
Yes. The other thing that I have noticed is regarding my decision making. in the past, I've struggled with it, making the right decision and then being comfortable with it. And so I've noticed whether it's ordering something online that I need to get, I know I need to get it, but I just don't make the decision to do it. And it's simple, but I'm finding that I'm just doing it. And Nike, just doing it.
Just do it. Beautiful.
And that's new. And I believe that that's part of my evolution and my healing journey, is that now I have that.
So good.
Thing that SBSM really gave me is how to find my space between how to work with using the least amount of energy to get more out of it. And that's been powerful.
Beautiful. And that's a big part of actually what you're learning in the course through the Feldenkraisian lessons, is how to do things more efficiently. So it's music to my ears to hear you say that that's transferred into life, which is the purpose of those lessons.
Yes, that's great. Yes, it's been wonderful. It's not just the learning about the nervous system and our viscera and our kidneys and adrenals. It's all in together.
You've got energy. People are like, oh, Vanessa looks so put together, but I'm not like that. So how could I don't know if I can do this. What would you have to say to someone who's not sure or is doubting whether they should make this decision, this commitment, because it is a commitment, it is an investment? What would you say?
I would say, just so that you know, all weekend leading up to this, I have been a wreck. Last night I cried so many times. I didn't think I could do this interview. I didn't think I would have the courage, and I didn't know if I could actually convey what I'm feeling. My days, I spend a lot of time in bed. Because of my health conditions, I'm bedridden and housebound. So you're seeing me in my highlight and not my general. I think this program and the community involved and all of the team that you've put together, because it's, you have a whole team and everyone offers something different. That I would say that I was on my couch in my pajamas trying to figure out what the hell I could do to help myself. And I was desperate. And I wouldn't regret it for a moment, even in the hard parts. This isn't for the faint of heart. It isn't easy, and it's not a miracle cure in the sense that it doesn't happen when you take a drop or you take a pill. This is a shift for your whole life's journey and what can open up because you've created space. Your swimming pool has room for flow. And so I think if you're struggling mentally, physically, you want your relationships to be better, you want your relationship with yourself to be better, this would be amazing. Whether you're a professional, counselor, therapist, social worker, this could help your clients. If any of the people that I had seen in that category had have had this information, I could have got to you sooner.
Right.
It's a journey, and there's ups and downs, peaks and valleys. And sometimes I've had it, I'm just sitting there and tears just come. And my husband's like, oh my gosh, what's going on with this woman? And I said, I'm not sad. I'm just releasing.
Yes.
And just random releases are coming up.
Yes.
And so, I would say for anybody who needs support and wants to be on a journey with a collection of other people who are also wanting to do this and creating a movement towards helping the world learn this important work.
Thank you. That was beautifully put.